It was a cold afternoon in a small, quiet park. A young man sat on a bench, staring at his phone, scrolling endlessly through videos. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry either. He was simply empty. Behind him, autumn leaves were falling. Time was passing, minute by minute, but he didn't feel it. To him, the world had become background noise. Then, a voice broke the silence. "Tell me, young man," the old voice said, "are you living your life? Or just waiting for it to begin?" The young man turned. An old man, with silver hair and a calm face, was watching him. His eyes looked gentle, yet sharp, the kind of eyes that had seen many years and many mistakes. The young man gave a tired smile. "I don't know," he said softly. "I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I scroll, I sleep. It all feels the same. Sometimes I think I'm doing okay, but other times I feel like I'm wasting everything." The old man nodded. "Routine is not the enemy," he said, "but comfort is. When comfort becomes your home, growth stops knocking at your door." The young man looked down. He knew what the old man meant. He remembered how many times he had promised himself to start learning English seriously, to exercise, to apply for a better job, to travel, but he never did. There was always a reason to wait. "Tomorrow I'll start. I'm too tired today. I'll do it when I feel ready." Days turned into months, months into years, and ready never came. The old man smiled a little, as if he had heard this many times before. "You remind me of myself," he said. "When I was your age, I also waited. I waited for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. But perfection never arrived. Life kept moving, and I stood still." He looked into the distance. "I had a dream once, to build a small bookshop in our town. I even found a place for it, but I was afraid I would fail. So I told myself, maybe next year. And you know what happened?" The young man shook his head. "The place was sold. Someone else opened that bookshop. It became successful. I walked past it for 10 years, telling myself, that could have been me." He paused and sighed softly. "Regret is heavier than effort. You can rest after working hard, but you cannot rest after doing nothing. Your mind will keep replaying the life you didn't live." The young man was silent. He felt something tight inside his chest, a mix of fear and sadness. The old man continued, his voice gentle but firm. "Do you know what people say before they die?" The young man shook his head again. "They don't say, 'I wish I had watched more TV.' They don't say, 'I wish I had scrolled more social media.' They say, 'I wish I had been braver. I wish I had started sooner.'" He looked straight at the young man. "What about you? What are you waiting for?" The young man didn't answer. His hands were cold. He thought about his dream, to speak English fluently and travel abroad. He had been saying for years, "One day I will." But one day never comes by itself. The old man smiled again. "Young man, every day you wait, you bury a dream. Don't waste your life burying dreams that deserve to grow." The young man looked down at his hands. For the first time, he felt the weight of his own time. The old man stood up slowly. "Let me tell you something," he said. "To live fully is not to be busy every minute. It is to choose what matters and do it deeply." He picked up a fallen leaf and showed it to the young man. "This leaf will fall and no one will notice. That's how most days go when we live without purpose." He let the leaf go and the wind carried it away. But some days stay in our hearts forever. The days we tried, the days we dared. Those are the days that build a life worth remembering. The young man whispered, "How do I start?" The old man smiled. "You start by starting. No perfect moment, no perfect plan, just 5 seconds of bravery." He walked away slowly, leaving the young man alone with the sound of rustling leaves and a heart that finally felt awake. That night, the young man couldn't sleep. The old man's words kept echoing in his mind. Every day you wait, you bury a dream. He stared at the ceiling in the dark. He thought about how many plans he had started and never finished. How many times he had said, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow had become a wall between him and his life. At 3 a.m., he sat up, opened his notebook, and wrote one sentence: "No more waiting." It wasn't a big plan. It was just a beginning. But sometimes beginnings don't need to be big. They only need to be honest. The next morning felt different. The sky was still gray, the streets still quiet, but inside him, something had changed. He decided to start small. He took his phone and opened an English podcast he had saved months ago but never played. For the first time, he listened carefully. At first, the words felt fast. He missed half of them, but he kept listening. Then he repeated one simple sentence out loud. It felt strange, his voice shaky, awkward. Yet somehow, that small act made him smile. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. He had finally taken action. That evening, he wrote another line in his notebook. "Today I listened. Tomorrow I'll speak." Days passed. Every morning before work, he spent 10 minutes practicing English. At first it was easy, but soon distractions returned. Messages, notifications, friends inviting him out. The world always has something to steal your focus. One morning, he reached for his phone, ready to open social media. Then he remembered the old man's words: "Regret is heavier than effort." He put the phone down and opened his notebook instead. That one decision made the whole day better. He realized discipline isn't punishment, it's self-respect. Every time he chose practice over distraction, he was telling himself, "My dream matters." But growth is never straight. Some days he felt tired. Some days he wanted to quit. One morning, he tried speaking English to a tourist in a cafe and forgot half his words. His face turned red. He laughed nervously and walked away. That night, the old voice returned in his mind. You can rest after working hard, but you cannot rest after doing nothing. He opened his notebook again and wrote, "I failed, but I tried." The next day, he spoke again. This time he finished the sentence. The tourist smiled. It wasn't perfect English, but it was perfect courage. Weeks became months. What started as a 10-minute routine became a daily ritual, a quiet promise he made to himself. He would wake up early, make coffee, and listen to one English story each morning. Sometimes he repeated sentences. Sometimes he just listened and breathed. These moments became his anchor. They gave his day direction and meaning. He no longer felt like he was waiting for life to start. He was already living it in small, steady steps. One evening, he returned to the same park. The bench was still there. The leaves had changed again. He sat down and imagined the old man beside him. "I did it," he whispered. "I started. I'm still not perfect, but I'm moving." He smiled softly. Maybe the old man would never know, but his words had planted a seed, and the young man was finally watering it with action. He opened his notebook and wrote one more line. "The future doesn't wait for me. I move toward it." A full year passed. The young man was no longer the same person. He had new habits now: morning reading, evening reflection, and speaking English every day. His pronunciation wasn't perfect, but his confidence was real. He had found new friends through English communities online. He had applied for a small job abroad, something he once thought impossible. Life hadn't become easier, but it had become meaningful. One Sunday afternoon, he walked to the same park again. The air smelled of leaves and distant rain. The bench was there, old, quiet, and waiting. He sat down and smiled. It felt like visiting a memory, not a place. As he looked around, he noticed a familiar figure walking slowly down the path, an old man with silver hair, holding a cane. The young man stood up immediately. "Sir," he called out. The old man turned, surprised, then smiled. "You came back," he said. And you look different. The young man laughed softly. I took your advice, he said. I stopped waiting. The old man nodded, his eyes shining with pride. Tell me, he said, what did you learn this year? The young man thought for a moment. Then he answered slowly. I learned that doing something badly is still better than doing nothing. I learned that life doesn't wait, and I shouldn't either. I learned that action brings peace. The old man's smile deepened. Good, he said. You've understood what many people never do. They sat together for a while, watching the trees move gently in the wind. The young man noticed another boy nearby, sitting alone, looking down at his phone, just like he once had. He hesitated for a second, then stood up and walked toward him. Hey, he said kindly, are you okay? The boy shrugged. Yeah, just bored. The young man smiled, remembering that same sentence coming from his own mouth a year ago. He sat down beside the boy and said softly, Can I tell you something? The boy looked at him, curious. Don't wait too long to start living, he said. You don't need to be ready. You just need to begin. The boy nodded slowly, unsure but listening. And in that small moment, something passed from one life to another. A spark, a message, a quiet truth. As the young man walked away from the park, he thought about how strange life was. One conversation, one sentence, one person can change everything. He realized that the old man hadn't given him a plan. He had given him a perspective. The power wasn't in the advice itself. It was in the choice to listen and the courage to act. He whispered to himself, I used to wait for my life to begin, but it began the day I stopped waiting. He smiled. For the first time, he felt truly alive. Don't waste your life. It isn't just a warning, it's a reminder. Don't waste your life waiting for permission. Don't waste it thinking you're not enough. Don't waste it replaying the past or fearing the future. Start with one small action. Read a page, learn one word, take one step. Even if it's slow, it's still movement. Because the truth is simple. You can always fix a mistake, but you can't recover wasted time. So if you're listening to this right now, take a deep breath and decide. Don't just think about the life you want. Start building it, even quietly, even imperfectly. Because in the end, the biggest risk isn't failure. It's never trying at all.
If this story made you feel calm or helped you understand yourself a little more, please like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more peaceful English listening practice.